Jehovah. Come on. Say it. Like Jehovah. There's no God 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 like Jehovah. There's no God.
We are right here. That's why we are right here. And with us is somebody we've already met, Mrs. Angelina Tunomjini. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And we have a guest, Dr. Emmanuel Mwesiga. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Talk about this topic.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You're very welcome. Would like to start with you, Angelina.
Yes.
You've heard this word burnout. Tell us a little bit about your experience with this elephant in the room, this monster, I don't know what to call it. What is the experience with burnout?
Thank you, Harriet, and thank you for encouraging me to speak, because sometimes when we have topics like this, you do not want to be the one who is a case study. But I think I have always been busy doing one thing or another, and I would like to be Mary, to sit quietly at the feet of Jesus. But I find that in life I'm actually a Martha. I am only still when I am tired. When I am completely tired, then time to sleep. But even when I'm quiet, either I'm listening to something, writing something, checking on someone, or doing something. And when we discuss this topic of being burnt out, I reflected on what I had gone through. And as I grow, I have taken on a number of leadership positions, and I realized that I had actually been burnt out, and I pulled out some of the things that stood out for me. What happens when I'm burnt out, because I think it has happened more than once, is that I found I was finding difficulty completing tasks that were easy to do at first. All of a sudden, something that's like a mole becomes a huge mountain. I found that I was losing interest in something that I was originally passionate about. All of a sudden, you've just lost interest. It's no longer interesting. And something else was that all those who know me, there's a bishop who met me one day, we lived near each other. He said, "Hey, Angelina, I remember you on campus, moving very fast, very fast, very fast."
And now you were
and now I was beginning to drag my feet socially. So I have a strong social battery. When I am burnt out, socially it becomes difficult for me to connect. I withdraw. So I was the kind of person, even in my area where I live, when neighbors would come, even if I didn't know them, I'd be the one to go and welcome. And if people were sick, I'm the first to check on them. If people are in hospital, I'm there. But I learned that whenever I'm burnt out, my battery starts blinking. Blip, blip. I can't do anything. Even the things I really would love to do, see the people I really want to see. I love going to see my parents every week or every 6 weeks if I travel. And I find that it's so far. It's not that it's far.
Your home has moved.
Yes, it's like the home has moved from where it is on Gaza Road to Lugazi. So that's my experience with burnout, and that's why for me this is very important. I'm happy to share so I may be helped and hopefully help someone else who is listening.
Thank you, Angelina. It is clear your experience with burnout is more to do with how much you have been doing or how much you find on your plate or the tasks before you. I don't know about you, Dr. Apofia. Do you relate with that for you burnout is because you have too much to do, especially as a leader? And you know, for us leaders, work always falls into our lap. Even when you don't ask for it, it finds its straight way to our laps. What is your experience? How do you see burnout for you?
I don't know if I've ever been burned to ashes. It's maybe the doctor will let us know. It's probably for me a matter of deep exhaustion. When, as a leader, I don't even want those that I'm leading to ask me any questions. I don't want anybody to tell me to do anything. I just want to curl up somewhere and just be myself. But it doesn't last long. After a short period of time, a day or two, I am up and about. So I don't know if it's burnout, whether it's just me being me, I don't know. But that's my experience with it.
Yes. You know, just sharing before we came on the call about a health crisis I got recently. And talking to the doctor, it looks like he was telling me, you need to slow down. You're doing too much. And maybe, Dr. Emmanuel, you can be able to let us know, in your view as a medical person, or the technical part, because we are talking as lay people, how would you identify burnout? What would it be for you as a doctor when somebody comes to you and you say, that is burnout?
Okay, thank you. I think from what everyone has said, we sort of like have descriptions of burnout. Wanting to be alone, not wanting anyone to doing too much, feeling your battery is low. I think we should start from the beginning. There's a lot of conversation about mental health. So when we talk, and because I'm a psychiatrist, when they say burnout, people think it's a medical condition. And it's really not. It is more a social condition. It's very important for life, okay? And burnout is more in the workspace. It is not being able to do what you're supposed to do in the workspace. So sometimes they say three things. She has alluded to it. One, you're emotionally disengaged. Then you're cynical.
So you say it was burnt out, right?
Then you're cynical. Everything is bad, right? So emotionally, ideally a workplace is supposed to be a place where you're happy. You're earning some money, you're doing things, but you go there and you're not feeling the place, as they say. You don't want to talk to anyone, you don't want to be there. So emotionally, you're disengaging. The cynicism is more being negative. The color is wrong, the laptop is slow, the arrangements, the food is bad, okay? And then the last part is then you become ineffective.
Okay.
So I think burnout is more how you after, because work is also stressful, and it's meant to be stressful.
Really? What?
Yes, work is meant to be stressful, but you're supposed to be resilient. Okay? So every day it should be challenging. Actually, later when you talk about some of the types of burnout, you'll find that you can get burnt out from being underutilized.
Wow.
Yes, you can be underutilized and you burn out, right? So work is supposed to be challenging and exciting. You should enjoy going to work, okay? But as you manage that stress and the challenges every day, okay? It shouldn't reach a point where you become disengaged, cynical, and ineffective. So I think that's burnout.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a quote by, I can't remember who said it, who said, it's not the load that is heavy, it is how you carry it. And I think what he was saying is that the same load can be more stressful for one person than the other. So I might be here saying, I want to do Apophia's work, and yet I find myself unable to do it. How can we gauge how much we can handle so that we don't end up burning out? How are we able to say, okay, this place, like the young people say, is toxic? It's a toxic environment. What are the indicators for me to know I need to come out of this space, I need to work on this, and not get to a point where I have to come and see you?
So I think we should not disregard the young people. The young people are a bit more aware about life than we give them credit for. So young people will not be in a toxic environment. So you see jokes on Twitter. Someone says this job is not 3 million as a starting salary. Off they go, right? So young people are a bit more aware of what is required to prevent burnout. I think we need to give them that. They go to a job expecting certain bare minimums, and they expect those bare minimums to be met, and they look out for them, and they are very vocal when they are not there. Other generations are not exactly like that. So we are unhappy in a place, we are not being acknowledged, we are being undervalued, but we'll say no, we have to, we stay for 10 years,
I
right?
take it as resilience. I take it like the young generation are more butterfly-like, whereas the older generation can stay and try.
Yeah, but resilience does not mean get broken.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we confuse things. So people, and then that's what you asked. So where is the
balance?
The balance, okay? And at the end of the day, that's why I said burnout is about work. Work is what makes you, what gives you a living, what satisfies you, what fulfills you, what gives you purpose to wake up in the morning, what gives you purpose. And many times we don't know what those things are. And that's why I said we need to be very careful to assume that burnout is just working too much. Burnout can also be not working enough in terms of your mindset, in your capacity. Yeah. So I gave you an example when we were off air. If burnout started, the research started in healthcare workers, and I gave an example of at least from my training, when you study and then you go on the ward, you think you're going to change the world. And then they tell you, okay, collect that sample and walk to the lab and wait there for blood and bring it back as other people are saving patients. And that's very draining. And it happens now in many spaces. You have seen people who go and I think I saw it a bit when I traveled. People who go, you just wake up and you're just supposed to appear at work. And your job is to be present. Your job, no one asks you what you think, right? No one asks you, is this a good, that's very stressful. So now they're in the workplace, yes, they are working, okay? But they're being resilient. They have
And they're being paid.
They are being paid. Yes, they are being resilient. They have sat in. But at the end of the day, they say, "But what did I achieve today?" Okay. So on one hand, there are those who are working too much, doing too many things. Okay, like many people here. But on the other end of the spectrum, there are those who are not being utilized to their potential. Both can lead to burnout. So I think it just needs a balance.
Needs a balance, and I think it goes back to who we are created to be.
Exactly.
I think we are created to work and get fulfillment from the work that we do. I think that's a God-given gift. I know you said the workplace, but I'm just thinking. I mean, we come from families, and we are mothers. You said that mothers in our home are the donkeys, and the husbands ride those donkeys, and they're happy. But would you feel that even as mothers, as wives, you can get burnout just in the home? You talked about the workplace. What about in our homes? Is it possible for us to get burnout even in the home? Because it's talked about not feeling worthy, not feeling that you are appreciated. But what do you think?
I believe we can be burnt out, and Dr. again will guide us. I am thinking of emotional burnout at home, plus the workload burnout. Especially if you are a mother who is working and also doing a lot of the domestic work. You're coming home, both of you, you're coming home, and him as the man is putting his feet up and reading his newspaper, and you're rushing into the kitchen to get him the glass of juice. He doesn't even say a thank you, and you're beginning to feel, I think that can push you to being burnt out.
So that would push you to be stressed. What would push you to be burnt out is what you understand your role as. So me putting my feet up may stress you. Okay? But if you assign that culturally as your role, that I'm supposed to give my husband juice, okay? And you feel fulfillment, okay? You feel you're achieving your purpose, you may not get burnt out, okay? And that's why in a workplace you have to have like terms of reference first. For you to discuss burnout, is very important that you understand your terms of reference in the context.
Yes.
If you are not meant to serve the juice, okay, and in this context your terms of reference are to supervise the checks, the bank balance, and now they're telling you, no, go and serve the juice. That's the context of burnout. Okay. So it's what am I supposed to, what's my employment, what are my terms of reference, okay? Am I doing more? Am I doing less? Am I being acknowledged? Am I not being acknowledged? Am I getting fulfillment? Am I not getting fulfillment?
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
When I don't get those things, I become resilient. I say, okay, maybe tomorrow is a better day. Then tomorrow it happens again, and the next day, and then it becomes stressful. So that's how not being fulfilled, chronic stress, burnout. That's how you progress.
Okay.
And I think so. It starts with what's your role, and so people sometimes confuse burnout to be a corporate buzzword. So it can't happen on the farm. It can't happen. It can't happen in church leadership. It can't happen. It can't happen home. It can't.
Okay.
But as long as you understand that it starts with employment work, it starts with what you're supposed to do, and then how you understand your role in that space. Then you know that burnout is very possible.
In fact, you said something, let me just chip in with something small about that tea, serving that tea. When I was thinking about it, I said to myself, I don't mind serving that tea. Why? Because home is my priority. So I have found that I am less burnt out in places where I know my role. I know that I'm the mother, I am the wife, I am the colleague, so I don't mind doing anything in those tasks. I've found that I'm not burnt out at home generally. I'm burnt out when I'm underutilized, when I'm bored. When I think I should be doing one thing and instead I'm doing the reverse. And then I ask myself that question, but really today what did I do? What did I do today? Is this what I was wired to do? And it brings me to purpose as well. Is there something between a relationship between purpose and burnout?
I was actually about to ask that because I might be a person who feels fulfilled doing many things. And people have said to me, Harry, you should do many things. I love to be in leadership, I love to be training, I love to be doing this. And when I look at my calendar or my plan for the day,
you're happy.
It is full.
And you're happy about
and
it?
And I'm happy about it. Does that mean that in that state, burnout is not a possibility for me?
So burnout is a possibility for you in case, so we have to be very careful. They are high achievers, okay? And you do something and you feel underutilized, so rather than trying to get value in that space, you add a role. Okay? And the old literature says there were three types of people, three types of burnout, burnout in three types of people. There are those who they underutilize and they take on more tasks. There are those who are underutilized and then they take on no task. And then there are those who just come and be present, but they are cynical and they are complaining and things like that. So if your calendar is full because it is actually supposed to be full, you probably won't get burnt out because you go this meeting, there's purpose, there's benefit, next meeting, okay? But if you have put there a meeting just such that people know you work late, right? Yeah.
Are there people who do that?
Yeah, so many of us.
They can be appreciated.
Yeah, many of us. You know, no, like in my field, I think some of us put meetings. I think I'm guilty of sometimes. Of that. You have to be seen to be working.
Yes.
And for me, I think that's the most dangerous part of burnout.
Okay. Okay.
If you're trying to be seen to be working, so you're filling it with tasks that are not yours, tasks that are not beneficial, tasks that are not your purpose. Because you say, okay, they have told me to sweep the compound, but I'm better than sweeping the compound, right? So let me start cleaning the car, right? It's not really your task. So then they don't appreciate you cleaning the car, so you say, okay, now I will build cut the grass. So you have many tasks that are actually not yours, and that's very important. So basic employment, terms of reference, and it also goes to your skill set. Because you can also get burnt out if your skill set is underutilized or overutilized. If you don't have the skills for a certain role and they keep adding you, or if you're too qualified for a certain role and
they are not
giving you. So I think it's possible.
And you know, we worked in the corporate field, and we've had those who, I would say, are subordinates, or we have people that we are in charge of. I don't know what we can do as leaders, where you find that you sense that particular people in your organization are burning out. How can we help them? Because I believe as a leader, it is your role to make sure that the people who are following you are utilized well, they're having purpose, they're happy in whatever they're doing. It's your role, it's your responsibility, as long as they're in the sphere of influence. So what can we as leaders, as managers, or whatever it is, those in authority, in your view, what can we do to make sure that they don't burn out? Because then they become less effective. Then you're telling them they're not working. Then you're telling them, you know, you're not doing this and the other. So what can we do you think, that...
As a leader, I believe I need to understand the people that I'm leading, rooting in what Emma is telling us about. Do I understand their skill set? Do I understand their terms of reference? You know, sometimes people are recruited and you looked at somebody's terms of reference. When they came, as we go on, you no longer remember what you know the major role, but you don't know the other things that are a person's role. We need to understand the people. We need to be able to interact with them regularly, to be able to identify those symptoms you are talking about. If I begin to see it, or even before I begin to see it, I should be able to prevent. As he's saying, I don't want to see those symptoms. If I continue interacting with you, I should be able to see, is this one satisfied with their role? Are the skill sets matching where we've positioned somebody? Should we be moving Angelina to tackle this thing and moving Jen from this thing to tackle what Angelina is doing based on my assessment of her skill set?
As long as you don't touch my salary. Move me, but don't touch my pay.
Move with the salary. Something like that. That's what I think.
But we should be very careful to assume low salary equals burnout. And I think that's where we go wrong. So, as I said, I'm a psychiatrist. I don't really want to see patients. And that's why I'm here, because I feel if we manage chronic stress, we manage burnout, we prevent depression, I will work less. Okay? But we have this issue where we assume wealth equals protects you from so many things, but it's not. So we should be very careful saying burnout is always salary related, because it's not. And what we see in the clinic, or usually on news, when people say someone may be wealthy or popular has gotten a mental health crisis, they equate wealth status to the and her point of salary is the same, is that you can get burnt out on a very big salary,
very good salary,
on a very low salary.
That's true.
So it's really not. the salary is good, but what we understand at the workplace is that so Uganda, maybe the challenges salaries are generally low, so we always start from that point of view, okay? But even if the salary was adequate and your skill set is poor and things like that, then it would be what? It would be a challenge.
And I think I agree with you, because I've worked with a number of people, and it depends on what really motivates them. Some people are intrinsically motivated, and others extrinsically. You know, the people who do work, and I have been in that position where I'm doing something, not because of how much I'm being paid, but because of my knowing that I'm fulfilled. I love this. I love being amongst people. I love talking to them. So I agree with you. And I think for me, I did that for a long time, because people kept telling me I was doing a good job. They valued what I was doing. You know, they would keep saying, "Oh, you're doing a great job." And it was interesting when somebody asked me, "How much do you earn?" And I said, "What? You earn that amount of money for doing what you're doing?" I said, "Yeah, I just love doing what I'm doing." It's not about the money. So I actually agree with you that we need to be a bit careful on that. But if Angelina is salary extrinsically motivated, please, we need to make sure that if that's her self-worth, because there's people whose self-worth is hinged on how much money they earn. And I've met people like that, where they feel...
And those won't get burnt out because they will move to where their salary meets the expectations, right? And when they move, but you see, they are not moving just because of the salary. They are moving because they believe, I as a person, because of X, Y, and Z, this is my worth.
Okay.
So in there's the discussion about what they think they are able to do as people. Okay. So if I feel that my skill set, the time I've put in studying, is worth X, then I will move where they're giving me that X. So it's more important that I am having an honest conversation about what my worth is and what my skill set is. So some of the times people get burnt out because their expectations are higher than actually what their skill set is. And they think they can do a lot, and when given the task, they are struggling, right? And then they say, okay, so I can't really do this, and then there's a phrase, what do people say, how they're faking it?
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah,
Fake it till you make
something
it.
like that.
Yes, yeah. There's a question up there by, I think it's Dr. Jolie Beyeza. She says, when does someone realize that they're getting into burnout season? Is it that straightforward and clear? So how do I realize that, Harriet, you're moving into burnout? Is it that straightforward and clear?
But I think they said it. They said, they were... So she said she would not get exhausted at home, but would get exhausted at work. Probably home probably has more work, okay? I think when you notice that you're complaining a lot.
Okay.
When you're complaining a lot, when you're negative. If you're negative from the time you wake up and until you go back to sleep, you're just negative, then that's an issue.
But that could be an issue of character as well. If I am by nature a negative person.
No, if it's new. If it's coming up, yes. So you were passionate about work, you used to be the first one, etc. Then all of a sudden,
The last.
You're the last. You're complaining. In the meeting, they ask any other business. Yeah, the tea is too warm. The tea is too hot, too cold. You need to check yourself. Okay? And then if you're ineffective at work, I think those three things. And so, emotionally exhausted, you just don't want to see workmates, right? Work is supposed to be a place you enjoy.
Yes.
The moment you are entering those doors and you would rather be somewhere else, you don't talk to people, headphones on all the time, that's a bad sign. Then you're cynical.
Yes.
and then you're ineffective. So I think there you would know that.
Meaning we may, in some instances, we may not be able to avoid burnout. I'm looking at the Ugandan situation, the Ugandan market. I've got my job, I'm hanging on for dear life. I know that getting another job is going to be a hassle. So I hang in there because I need to earn. Although I'd rather be somewhere else, I have to be here because there is food to put on the table, there is umeme to pay, there is water to pay. So many people maybe are not able to avoid.
Yeah, but the Gen Zs move on. And that's why I said we need to be very
Their
careful.
responsibility levels are still low.
Exactly. But they don't, but they understand, they understand that this is not my space. So they move on. And then we judge them for that. But they are not willing, okay? They're not willing to allow themselves to be in that chance. So I'm not saying they are right, okay? I'm saying they need to maybe be more resilient. But also on the other hand, the leaders of the Gen Zs need to sort of like understand that they're a bit more brilliant than, they have more resources, more brilliant, more options, more opportunities. So maybe we shouldn't judge them. So we need to learn how to lead them. Since we're talking leadership, we need to learn how to lead them. It's not going to be the same. If you don't want, go.
They will go.
They will go. They will go. They will go. And so I keep wondering about nannies. I think in the old days, I don't know, growing up, I don't know how many nannies we had, maybe 1 or 2, right? Now you can have 3 in a month.
They come and go.
Yeah, so leadership is and burnout is about, how do we make a workplace more conducive for work?
Yes, that's okay. I've seen a question here by somebody called Commanda. She says, when I'm working very hard, I get strained. Tell us about working smart to avoid getting overstrained. And maybe I could say that for myself, what I've done, and maybe others will share, is that I love to delegate. I love to delegate, especially when I'm sure that this job can be done by somebody else. It's my husband who says that there's some mundane duties you should not be doing. Hand them to somebody else who can actually do the work and do it gladly, right? So maybe for me that's what I would do, but I don't know about the others. But what have you done to make sure that you're not overstrained when you work?
You're working smart.
Working smart, yes.
It's what you're saying. Is there somebody who can do it better? I have gaps in my abilities. There are some specific things that I'm gifted at. There are others, many others that I'm not gifted at, which you may be gifted at. Am I able to release? Am I able to delegate? Am I able to identify that this thing, this is not for me. I shouldn't be struggling at it, when he is better able to simply flow with it. And I struggle with it when he can do it. Yeah.
And I think for me, when you asked that question, what came to mind is, as a leader, now talking leadership, sometimes you just need to let some things go because they are actually people better than you. And this is not people less, it's not a mundane task. But you just feel that someone else, this general, will handle this thing better. And when I leave, it won't collapse. So it's recognizing who you are. I have a group I'm part of, it's business. I have no business, but I just love the book reading club and things that the group does. But when I was burning out, I had to assess, I love the people, and I'm still connected. I love the books, but they'll do better without me. You have to reach to that point. Yes, they're better off without me because I am also called to other spaces. So it's really good. I love it. I want to stay, but for the sake of my sanity. I just need to let go and let other generals take over. So it's recognizing, being aware of who you are, and saying this is lovely, but I need to let go.
Yes, like they're saying, not everything good is good for you. Exactly, yes.
There is also the planning angle, being able to do this common thing of urgent against important, being able to recognize that there is a whirlwind, and the whirlwind may push me into attending to the small things and ignoring the big important things. Am I able to sieve and say, this one I can leave, I don't really have to do it today. It can be done next week. The important thing for me now is this. Let me focus on this one and this one, and let this spend. Are you able to do that? That one will also be helpful for you.
Although I don't feel as a nation we have that culture. We to let juniors do things. I'm not so sure we're good at that.
And yet we should be.
And yet we should be. I don't think we are good at delegating. So I think for me the struggle is with the leaders. You know, a leader, if he does certain things, it becomes a culture. But the current culture at many workplaces is, you know, people are not allowed to test themselves. So I'm not sure you find leaders who are trying to do everything. And then also the second thing, the thing about working smart is improving your skill set. So we many times are trying to improve our skill set because it is what the job requires. Maybe not because of what we want. So you find people in classes, evening classes, trying to meet the requirements for things that they will never be good at. So
takes us to the issue of giftedness and calling. Being able to identify where your gifts lie. And
not you, but even your boss. Your boss must be able to guide you. To look at and identify. So as a leader, you should say, you know, you should do this. This is not you. But now that's critical because now you say now you must all have this certificate X, and then you find people on the weekend and the evening doing a. And when they get it, then it's just a document. And then the question says, but I did this course, I struggled with it, right? I have it, but I'm not being promoted. And then it's a slippery slope. So for me, I would think, and that's why I say it's not a medical issue. I think it's a social issue. The workplace needs to have
the leadership issue.
A leadership issue. It needs to have a rethink of because if you think of technology is going to do a lot of these things that we sitting to do, right? So leaders need, in my view, they need to think long and hard how they are going to keep employees engaged.
And I think it really answers this question where somebody says briefly, what are the individual, organizational preventive solutions to the burnout, especially when you're a novice or even experienced staff? And so what you've said is get skill sets that tie in with your gifting. Right?
Yes.
Even for the leader, help your followers, because you're supervising them, you're able to see what is their strength and say, you know what, your strength is actually here. Go and do this other course, right?
And also for the leaders, a lot of we like strategic plan meetings and retreats, but it would be good to see organizations hire based on their strategic plans, skill sets. Because the strategic plan is not for next year. It's maybe it's again our culture. We don't plan as far ahead as the Jews do, and sorry to say, the Caucasians. They'll plan beyond their time, beyond their own time, right? Something we may not do. So if I have a strategic plan for 2030 to 2040, now is the time to maybe be bringing in people for that time.
Looking ahead.
Yeah. But
And this question, I guess we've kind of answered it, whether it is a natural process due to stress of life. And I think what you've told us, Doctor, it's not about the amount of work you have, but feeling fulfilled in the work that you have. And that's why there are those who seem to be doing so many things, but they're fulfilled, they're not burnt out.
they're not burnt out.
And you have somebody doing so little, and they're so unfulfilled, and they are burnt out. And for me, that has been a great thing to take away, for me personally.
And for me, I feel the Ugandan healthcare system has a lot of burnout, primarily because we are underutilized.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would confidently say it, and the leaders of healthcare should think about it. If someone has trained, so like for me, when I'm trained, I'm supposed to sit in a space that's private, allow certain color, lighting, and then you put me in a dark room, no power. It's those things, right? And that's what I'm saying. I enter the workplace and I'm like, this is what I can do. This is my skill set. I'm able to do these things. And then I'm underutilized. Okay, I will get burnt out. Whether I'm coming every day, I will get burnt out.
Yeah, great. I don't know if there are any other questions. Anybody? Some to raise a hand, or our viewers. Or as a leader, how do you lead a quiet quitter, especially if you've tried to extend some level of support? Do you let them go? This is by Debo.
A quiet quitter. Somebody who doesn't express themselves to let you know that actually I'm not satisfied at all. They continue struggling and straining until they just go away. If somebody is not talking, I guess you're looking at symptoms, you're looking at how they are changing in the way they are relating with people, in the way they are doing their work, in the way they are expressing themselves. You're beginning to see maybe a withdrawal, the symptoms we are telling us about, a withdrawal. The cynicism you were talking about begins to express themselves. So you start now, that triggers you to start looking at how to help them, not to wait until they quit, or not to wait until they get burned out into ashes.
But they won't quit because of yaka and food and bills. They won't quit, and that's the worst part. Is that person won't quit. That person will stay there, but there will be no benefit for you as the leader and for them as the employee. And without thinking, that person is probably in the formal employment. So the dean, I work for the School of Medicine, the dean the other day said that professionals disengage quietly. They won't make a fuss over it. They'll be quiet. They just quieter, they fizzle out until they are doing nothing. Okay? And unfortunately, we are not in a society, we can't walk away because of the cost of living. We can't walk away. But we will stay there, but we will be ineffective. We'll quit, but be there.
We will quit, but won't quit.
We'll be present,
but not present.
We'll be present, but absent. So I feel immediately that tells me that that's probably a FOMO.
There's another comment here. To some, stress which causes burnout yields great positive results. What should be the way to go about that?
Is putting a positive angle to the stress issue, maybe. That as you stress, you're working hard, you're producing results, but in that process you're burning out. Me as the boss, if I'm not careful, I'm like, Emma is producing a lot of outputs these days, things are going well. Whereas you are like, I'm drowning, I'm not being fulfilled. Is that what he's meaning?
And that's why I said we have to be, those are the ones I worry about most. So I'm lucky I've had good bosses, so I've had a boss who calls me aside and says, no, you need to learn to say no. Because I am, as I said, I might be doing more things just to try and reach a level where I think I'm valued.
Yes. Yes.
So I might be doing many things. Okay. I might be doing many things because I'm trying to feel I'm valued. So I'm picking up more tasks that.
Okay. This has been really excellent. I see some hands up, but we're running out of time. And I'm thinking that, I don't know, Dr. Prof, what do you think?
We can have them on briefly, like 1 minute each, because we are closing down.
Okay.
There's Jolly
and Sylvan, yes.
You can give them a minute each to express themselves.
Okay. Over to you, Sylvan. Briefly, just 1 minute. Please express your point, your question, or comment.
Thank you so much. I hope I can do that. Can you hear me? As regards burnout, I think for me, two things. When I'm doing very things and I don't find fulfillment, then definitely burnout. And the doctor mentioned that very clearly. The other one is that when you give me work and you want to micromanage me.
Yes. Ooh, that sucks.
Then thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes, Sylvan, we hear you on the last one. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Jolly. Dr. Jolly, please unmute and give us your comment. Yes.
And I want to explain that, Dr. Emma, you get a lot of salary, you want yourself with Johanna, whatever, school. You will go to Kampala, you will go to Nakasero, trying to make ends meet. Then you get tired. Remember Nakasero, you don't compare it with your Mulambo. Mulambo, you have all these things. So when you come and you complain, they say, oh, you are complaining because you're burned out. But you are complaining because when you are in Nakasero, you are able to do your work and get better money. So when you come to Mulambo and you complain, you will be labeled as bad. So that is direct causes burnout like that. Then those who are not working, you say, oh, that system is not working as you are doing that. They will complain because they don't have the money, they are not incentivized to work, so they are taking care of them. So both ways cause burnout. Those salary are not that loss salary is burnout by running the company get that error. So that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jolly.
So I think for me, just to clarify, even people with high salaries get burnt out. And we need to be very careful to think that it is. And for me, why I think I must stand on that flag post is that we struggle in mental health spaces because people of certain social classes don't believe they can get these things because they have money. And we struggle. They come in later than most people. And we need to be very careful. So the person who is moving from hospital to hospital will get burnt out also because there's no doctor who likes moving from hospital to hospital. We would all want to sit in one place and so that's what I'm saying. That's the process. It is fulfillment of your skill set. But if you have to be on a board every 30 minutes to go to the next consultation, you will get burnt out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been very enlightening. Personally, there are a lot of things I'm going to go back and think about, and I'm sure even those on the call will definitely be looking back into their own lives and in their own spaces of leadership to make sure that these things don't happen. Dr. Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having
and
me.
helping us to unpack this burnout issue. Angelina, Dr. Pofia, thank you so much. It has really been great being your host, and I do hope that we will be back here next month.
Yes.
And to everybody on the call, thank you so much for logging in and being with us, and we wish you a great week ahead. Make sure you don't get burnt out. We need you around.
Yes.
God bless.
God bless.